Today we have with us Juhi Chawla, an eminent film personality, who is here to share her views on the cell tower radiation hazards. I would request her to please come over the stage, and also Professor Girish Kumar to please welcome her with the bouquet.
Applause, please.
Welcome to IIT Bombay.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this is the device with which you can measure that radiation level is safe or not safe in your house.
Oh, thank you very much. I will make a lot of use of this.
Sure, please do that.
Thank you.
We'd like to visit you.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Oh, yeah. Okay, are we set? Yes, we are set here. I hope everything's in order. We just walked in about 5 minutes ago and heard the gentleman who just spoke here. Yes, Mr. Chauhan, Mr. Kapoor. Where are you, sir? I still can't see you. Yes. My heart goes out to you and your family. Really. And I'm sure it touched everybody. And that's, God bless you and the family and give you strength. Oh, well, okay. For all of those of you who've seen me for many, many years now, from QSQT to Dar to Hame Rahi Pyar Ke to Phir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani to Kurkure to Bhutnath to Badmaash Company to mobile cell tower radiation. My life has been giving me surprises and I'm learning to adjust and go with the flow. Oh yes, how could I forget the IPL? Thank you. Yes, that is a huge part of my life as well. And also to say that, I'd only heard of IIT. I'd never even dreamt that I would be here one day. And the closest I've ever come to this institution is in a filmy fashion, in Three Idiots. I almost feel privileged to be here in such an eminent institution and amongst all of you. And speaking of films, our story, I'm about to recount our little journey with mobile cell towers and how I came to be sort of involved in this. Well, it's a bit of a long one. I'll try to stay with the plot. There are many little subplots which happened along the way, but I will not confuse you. I will try not to confuse you and myself. I'll try to remain with the main story. Okay, this is about our home. We stay in Veer Bhavan. Veer Bhavan is a building in a lovely green neighborhood of Malabar Hill. And it's directly opposite to the stately Maharashtra State Government Guest House, Sahyadri. So that's Sahyadri, the state guest house. And it is literally across the street from us. So that's the street. On our right, we see my building, and on the left, you see Sahyadri State Guest House. Now, about 1.5 years ago, it was Jay, my husband, and he's usually unperturbed. He's a man of the world, up to date with world developments, gadgets, cars, technology, fashions, trends, travels, everything. For once, I saw him a little disturbed. He stands in our hall, and he says, this is not good. This is not good. So I'm like, what happened? What's not good? And that's when, he pointed it out to me. He said, go out and look out of the balcony. And I went out to the balcony, and what do I see? that on the entire expanse of the Sahyadri terraces, mobile towers had sprung up as though overnight. So that's what Sahyadri State Guest House looked like. And, having him say that to me, what do I say? A little alarm bell went off inside of me, and that's when I started to just look into and try to find out more about cell towers and the radiation, and try to find data on the net. And we came across World Health Organization recommended guidelines, international standards of safety, permitted levels of exposure. And I also came across a few articles which were in the newspapers about radiation. At that time, I think it was more like there were debates about whether cell towers should be permitted on top of hospitals or in the vicinity of schools. And that's just one of them, which we could kind of get hold of and bring up for you. And then there were some articles which had measurements, measures of radiation levels mentioned in them. And that's when we thought, okay, if we, rather than just getting alarmed and not knowing what to do, let's try and get an agency to come and check the radiation levels around our house. Strangely, it wasn't easy for us to locate an agency who would do a private survey. Somehow the ones we approached, they said, no, we were called in by some authority and that's how we went, but we don't do homes and residences. After quite a hunt, we found CTIL, Techno Solutions. It is a Noida-based company with a branch office in Nariman Point. So that's them. And they came and conducted a detailed survey of the building. And they gave me a proper sealed report on their findings. Now, their findings revealed that the electrical fields and magnetic fields were well within limits at our residence. However, radio frequency readings indicate strong anomali and extreme anomali in areas touching exterior or wall of an apartment. According to them, they need to be addressed immediately. So, if that's the sort of layout of our house, what we found was around the periphery, all those readings which are in red with SAT, they were all extreme anomali. And their conclusion, there's another image that's on another floor of the building, and a further one where they gave in their conclusions. And, it's, based on various recognized, established, and representative organizations, research, recommendations, such high level of radiation are dangerous to the health of those who are exposed to such radiations for longer durations. I have just read out one, which is the third, conclusion that they had drawn. Just, when you read these findings on a proper report, you say, I'd better be wary and better take some kind of steps to bring about some kind of change. Okay, so what do we do from here now? So we contacted the Malabar Hill Residents Association. I wrote personal letters to, each family residing in the neighboring buildings, because Malabar Hill is, tightly packed with homes, buildings all across Sahyadri. It's not just my house which is facing them. It's everybody. There are buildings right around it. So what might be harming me is surely harming them too. So perhaps to create awareness, I just wrote them a letter that this is what we have done and these are the findings we have found and it's for you to know. We contacted the manager of Sahyadri. Now what was the result? The manager came. He was very polite and he was very cooperative. He said, ma'am, we will do our best. And a few weeks later, what do I find? That he changed the location of 2 of the central towers to the back of the terraces. So he gave us a little more distance. Earlier, they were at 40 meters from my house. And he turned the direction of a few towers which were directly facing us to the buildings on the side. So it got turned from here, it went there. I'm like, oh boy, this doesn't help. Then we, the Malabar Hill Residents Association, there was a lady there. She took me to meet the Indian Merchants Chamber board of members and the president. She said, maybe, they are well-placed and influential people. Maybe they'll bring about a change. So I went across, I met them. They spoke about some environment issues. I spoke about some mobile tower issues that we were having. We all had tea and snacks. 1 month later, they said, we can't help you. That was that. Then, meanwhile, I got in touch with Sri Milind Deora. And he was very supportive. He said that he had been concerned about and he had been pursuing this matter not just now, but for the past 10 years. And I was pleasantly surprised to hear that. I didn't even know. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, like Mr. Kapoor said, pollution caused by radio waves, it cannot be smelt, it cannot be seen, it cannot even be heard. You can only feel it or realize it. So, if I remember my conversation with Mr. Deora, he said something like this, that, we wouldn't want that 20 years down the line, we have an entire population, young children, young adults, old, suffering serious health effects due to our negligence, our inaction, or our ignorance. So, we wrote to the Chief Minister, we wrote to the Health Department of Mantralaya, and Mr. Milind Deora himself, he has forwarded us letters, which he had written to several highly placed officials at state and center levels. And, I'd really like to just read an excerpt of his letter, because I found it very well worded and almost like a mirror of our feelings. I am aware of the importance of spreading the telecom network in the country for its all-round development and future expansion of our nation. However, in view of the susceptibility of Indian citizens to possible health risks, I suggest use of low-power microcell transmitters with inbuilt solutions instead of the present trend of using high-power transmission over mobile towers or high-rise buildings. A number of studies have reported correlation between exposure to radio frequency, radiation, and occurrence of disorders in cells, DNA, immune system, hormones, and reproduction. So this is an excerpt from his letter to, the Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare. Similarly, very, very high people up in the government. Now, meanwhile, I was also happy to note that there were occasional newspaper articles which, were coming around. And so people are reading about it. People are writing about it. And it was about cell tower radiation in relation to health. Yes. But this whole process had taken months. And by now, I had begun to lose steam. Life is busy enough when, you're juggling work and your children and your family and you're this and you're that. And then you're also trying to find time to do these issues, and they are important. I think I just got very, very lucky at that moment, at that time. I just wanted to say here, Sri Milind Deora himself, he had said, these things will take time. So we have to persist and we have to pursue. So luckily at this point, who joined us in our endeavor was my very close neighbor. He is in the very next building right next to me, Mr. Prakash Munshi. And he took charge of this matter. And he has pursued it right up till today. Honestly, it is his relentless persistence which has yielded results. And today the picture has changed dramatically. And it is all thanks to him. So please welcome Mr. Prakash Munshi. I'm going to ask him to come up here. And he will give us an account of how events occurred over the last 4 months. In filmy words, उन्हें बुला देते हैं ताकि वो खुद बताएं अपनी कहानी अपनी ज़ुबानी. Please.
Thank you, Juhi. Thank you, Mr. Girish Kumar, for inviting us. And I have seen a few more familiar faces whom I have met in the recent past few weeks. Yes, we have tried to help Juhi as our friendly neighbor because for 1 year, nothing happened. And she was quite frustrated. It was my daughter-in-law who pushed me into this because she read a press note in Hindustan Times mentioning about the problem which Juhi is having. She works for a public relations company called Edelman. So she said, Daddy, you are retired. You have a little bit more time to spare for Juhi and for the community around Sahyadri. Why don't you help? So there I was, pulled into Juhi's fold. We wrote to the Chief Minister, because Sahyadri State Guest House comes under the GAD, or the General Administration Department. We wrote to Milind Devra, because he is our Member of Parliament, South Bombay. And luckily for me, I spoke to him 2 days before he got this ministry under him. And he says, Prakash, I am equally concerned because I have the same problem opposite my residence. Please go ahead, I'll give you support as my MP. Little realizing that 2 days later, he himself would be the minister in charge of this portfolio. But the amount of support we have got from his ministry and he himself is not there or not seen by me or others so far. Imagine a minister of state flying into Bombay for 1 day trip just to check on these EMFRs, where Juhi had complained about the Haji Ali Towers and the Sahyadri Towers. He personally took charge, went there personally. Okay, the rest is all history. We are not going into history anymore. But there are a few things which have to be mentioned, that what are the standards which we have fixed. Say 4,500 milliwatts per square meter was the standard. Now I learn that it is now 450. Is this realistic standard? Is this an international standard which only technical people can discuss and also come to their own conclusions? I would like to throw a few questions over here because we have written to the government for the new draft policy 2011 and asked them, tell us please whether these standards are international, whether the towers have the power transmission as per the international standards, whether it should be 2 megawatts or milliwatts, whatever you call it, I am not aware. 2 watts, is that right? 2 watts, 4 watts, 8 watts, or 10 watts. And I have read on the internet that this means how much wider coverage they can get if it is 2 compared to 10. If it is 10, you can get wider coverage. Then the EMF radiations. What are the levels in highly developed countries? How far they should be from hospitals, schools, and residences? These answers are not given by anybody. Whatever policy or draft policy you made, but please incorporate these, that's what we have said. And the radiations, if they are at a continuous 24-hour rate, and if they're just there for a short time, like you're going on the motorway here and you find radiation towers on both sides, I don't know who has permitted them. Right on the highway, both sides. Supposing there's a traffic jam, you roll down your windows, feel it, please. You will know for yourself. We have suggested the following things, that power transmitted by mobile towers should be as per international standards, not 10, 20, or 40, or whatever it is. No mobile towers should be allowed within 50 to 100 meters of schools, hospitals, nursing homes, old people's homes, and residential buildings. Structures engineer certificate to be obtained before putting up these mobile towers. And the data required by neighboring buildings affected by the mobile tower's radiation should be provided by the service provider or the person rented out the space to put up the mobile towers. This should be mandatory. Contact person's name, address, landline number of service providers having mobile towers on their building should be well exhibited over there. There has to be another very important factor which we observed in our survey in the last 3-4 months, that the one thing which is inducing all the members of the societies, as he said, and even hospitals, like Jaslow Hospital, somebody go up there to Jaslow Hospital and see how many towers are there. Has anybody seen Jaslow Hospital? Yes. And you know why they have come up? Because Carmichael Road Residents Association stopped all members of that association from putting up mobile towers on their buildings and removing them. They had to remove. Why? Because, take for example, Vijay Apartments. They had mobile towers. Usha Kiran, a building opposite to them, like we are opposite to Sahyadri, they had 5 cancer cases. Nobody can prove or disprove that the mobile towers causes cancer, but they have removed it. What is the distance at which these towers should be? Should be really scientifically seen and also checked internationally. The inducements from the society, from the service providers to the society is the high rent that they pay. Not because we don't have these on our towers, we are not bothered. But it is this money which is encouraging people, which can range from maybe 60,000 to 1 lakh rupees a month. And that's quite a bit money for small societies. I have seen it at even 3 feet level, the towers. If you go towards Tinbati, you will see them at 3 feet levels and at a higher level. And this is what I think we have to stop and control. This cannot go on this way. Then there has been the case of camouflaging, landscaping, monopole towers, and stealth structures. Well, as far as they conform to our radiation levels, which we want, and the information which we want from the service providers for all major international countries, then I think we are there to support, because as somebody said, we are all using mobile phones. We cannot do without mobile phones. Yes, we cannot do without mobile phones, but we cannot forget also our health problems which our children or grandchildren can face, because this cannot happen in 1 month, 1 year, or 2 years. But it is the continuous radiation which will go on for years that affects. So what do we want from the service providers? We request you all to give us levels of radiation hazardous to humans and pets, because the term people, as somebody said, they came to measure these radiation levels at Haji Ali and also at our place. And we asked them, tell me, is this 46 milliwatt per square meter you're saying, is it harmful to me from health hazard? At what level will it be harmful for health hazard? I am not talking about cancer alone, please. There are other 8 or 10 health hazards which I will tell you that can affect also. So they said, sorry, as that lovely gift which he gave you, they came with that machine. We can only measure it and tell you the reading. The reading is within 4,500 milliwatt per square meter. Therefore, you don't have to worry, Mr. Munshi. I said, I am doubting 4,500 itself, That's not a realistic standard, and therefore, please don't tell me if you cannot qualify the reading, please don't give me a reading, because that reading has got no value as far as I am concerned. I have a lady who is suffering from cancer on the 5th floor. How am I going to go to her and tell her when she is crying, tell me? No answer. The term team met that lady. They had no answer. They said, we can only quantify it, but not qualify it. I said, then till such time you qualify it, please don't enter our building. So we want that 46 to be told, yes, it can cause some health hazard. Today I read in the papers, they have brought it down to 450 milliwatts per square meter. This was discussed in the Interministerial Committee in January. What took 10 months to announce this? If they had already taken a decision, what took them 10 months to decide this and come to a conclusion? Because now there is an awakening and everybody is now aware of these health hazards. I will now take you off to the 4 different things which we have asked. Length of radiation, levels of radiation hazardous to humans or pets, permissible height at which the mobile tower should be installed, minimum distance as the crow flies from the mobile towers from the residential buildings, and assurance from the service providers that due compensation would be provided to families affected by radiation, medical expenses, income loss in case of death, or inability to earn. This, somebody will say, is a bit too much. Yes, but unless and until you ask for the sky, nothing's going to move in this country. There was a seminar which was held, I think, in Calcutta, if I mistake not. I don't know whether anybody has heard about it. There were many people from IIT Kharagpur, IIT Powai, everywhere. And their West Bengal government has taken a decision, not less than 50 meters, there should be no towers. Schools, no towers. Like Jaslok Hospital should not have any towers. There is another case going on, I think, against Asha Parekh Hospital and somebody else. I'm reading a lot, I'm not got everything stored up here, but it is awareness which is coming up, and that is important. We have to make everybody aware. That was the gist of our strategy. We put up banners. We put up 7 banners opposite Sahyadri State Guest House, and we pleaded with folded hands, please remove the cell towers from your terraces. One of the 2 has heeded our requests. That is Sahyadri State Guest House, which is a government organization, which is at 40 meters distance, removed 13 out of 14 towers. There is only one, that is the Sailor Apartments, which is having a problem because they have entered into a 5-year contract. I don't know earning how much, that's not my point. The point is, they are not agreeing in connivance maybe with the service provider. And it is only 15 meters away. And there is a cancer lady right opposite. The service provider says, can you prove it that it is because of this? I say, can you disprove it? No. Therefore, there is no answer to these questions. We have to do what we have to do. And the service provider was told very categorically in our letter and our personal request when he visited me, because our letter of 2nd November still is unreplied. 2nd of November and today is 20th. Imagine the kind of apathy we are having. The people are not interested in action. I am quite frankly disgusted with the service provider. I have rang up 15 times, 20 times, 30 times. I have been to their office, put my phone on speakerphone, put it to the receptionist. I said, see, I'm dialing this number. What's coming? Only music. I said, you have to now believe me or not? that I can't reach any of your numbers. No, this is wrong. Yes, okay. Try and speak to Mr. So-and-so, not available. Ask for a responsible person, not available. I said, fine. Then only thing is, please hand this letter to your CEO and let me see what he does. Nothing. So, this is what finally happened, and we are very happy, and we would like to thank, really from the bottom of our heart, to everybody who has helped us in this to get these 13 towers away. We are now looking forward for further support to get that one tower away from Sailor Apartments. I can give certain people who are just visitors and are having residences. The basic thing which started off was the banners. What happened was, actually, every Wednesday there is a cabinet meeting at Sayadri Guest House. So the entire media, TV media basically, were there. So they saw Juhi's building, they saw my building with all the banners, and they read Sayadri State Guest House. So they said, oh my God, we are here, we should have been the other side. So they came on the other side, filmed all these banners, read it, understood them, which is very important, and then asked who has put up these banners at Veer Bhavan and at Rajniketan. And there we were, in the evening at about 4:30, with 20 people around in a small press conference, which we never asked for it. There were about 13 TV channels which ran through the program in the evening. There was a channel which had a half-an-hour program covering me and Juhi on the very next day. And I think there was a tremendous impact of these TV media action. And we heard it not only here, people in Gujarat, Delhi, everywhere I have heard from the newspapers to the TV reports that this was a great achievement by you. Thank you very much.
Okay, just in conclusion, I'd just like to say that yes, that was, as you could notice, his dogged persistence in this matter, which where he suggested the use of banners outside our buildings, which prompted the press to come forward and ask us questions and film us and air that. And due to those articles and those interviews, the government began to take action. A team of people came just a few days ago, and all those 14, 15 towers which were up there, literally 5 days ago, they were cleared out. And we have now just one tower, which of course now has boosters, but one looks, a far achievement from 14. So through this whole movement, he has been a great support, in fact, a great driver. Where I was just about giving up, he took it forward. And I would like to thank, before I leave, Professor Girish Kumar, because in July, he came around when we were still groping with this whole situation. He came around and he conducted a survey at my residence as well. And according to him too, it was in the high-risk category. Also, I'd like to mention a young lady, a reporter, Saili Mankikar from Hindustan Times, who had been following this story right through. And it's not just about me. I'd like to just quote, please can I have my phone? Finally, I need the cell phone. I worked with this director very often, Mr. Aziz Mirza. And years ago, he told me a poem. It was a very hard-hitting one. And today, I just remembered it. I couldn't get the exact words. And I called him up and I said, I just want to quote that. So please, will you send it to me? And he messaged it to me, and I'd like to read it to you. It's by a clergyman in Germany. It was late 1800 to 1900s. And he said, he was a Protestant. He said, in Germany, they came first for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time, there was no one left to speak up. Thank you.
Could you-